Exodus gloves. Are they best in slot or eh? Right. Just that potentially people that just want the quick information just to get it out of the way. Are they best in slot? No. You are potentially sacrificing overall potential because we're basically in a severe gear set meta. And a lot of the talents that you would get on gear set backpacks just aren't really worth it. So the general way in which you would build around Exodus gloves would be a high-end chest, potentially a gear set chest, your 4-piece gear set utilizing the backpack, because your next slot that would be consumed would be for Exodus gloves, which means you're either compromising a backpack talent or essentially, potentially, another exotic piece that can give more. In overall diversity and utility, even Memento does give more, but I would argue the utility that Exodus gives is stronger. So it then becomes like a quantity versus quality argument, and it's mostly then going to depend on what it is you actually want. All this being said, this does not mean that Exodus gloves aren't good. They are very good. They are very, very strong. Just to expand on that slightly, this is the highest performing striker build in the game at the moment. And if you slot Exodus gloves in here, obviously you'd have to use Striker's backpack and then a Cheska mask. This is about a 17% decrease in overall DPS. And all it's giving you is a tiny bit of survivability that happens once every 40 seconds. I'll leave that to you as to whether or not that is worth it. Ideally, though, you could actually just go with the build I just showed and put preservation on the weapon, which is a massive increase in survivability, as long as you're killing things, and still 7.6% more DPS over what you would get from using Exodus. And if we look at just some of the larger, more damaging gear sets, something along the lines of maybe Heartbreaker. This just increases the bonus armor from the stat gains to 2% rather than 1%. So you're not really getting a damage talent, and it's not like you need that survivability or extra survivability because you have Exodus. So one's going to cancel out the other. With Hot Shot, it allows you to miss a shot, but you're still not gaining any extra damage. Hunter's Fury, again, it's not extra damage. I suppose you could kind of argue in a weird way it is, but it increases the radius of the disorient from 5 meters to 10 meters, which is what you're actually watching on screen now. I'm using the Hunter's Fury backpack. Negotiator's Dilemma is actually one of the few where you get a massive increase with using the backpack. The problem is, you would be better off using Coyotes with how Negotiators actively works. Ongoing Directive just increases the bleed effect from a 50% to 100%. Strikers is again one of the few gear sets that actually has a damaging talent on the backpack, but we're still better off using a brand set with a damage talent on that. Tip of Despair, does anyone even use this anymore? And although it is a damage talent, 50% weapon damage, it is just weapon damage, as in like red core weapon damage. It's not an amp or total weapon damage, and it only comes at the cost of depleting your signature weapon, and it only lasts for 15 seconds when you could just go Unstoppable Force or Vigilance, which is more than 50% weapon damage and applies to both signature and your normal weapon. Umbra isn't directly a damage talent, but it does increase the stacks, of which allows Umbra to potentially do more damage as well as have more survivability. But again, we're compromising in a rather weird way because we're trading survivability for survivability, which to me doesn't make much sense. So it's not really like actively building around Exodus is going to be powerful, but the gloves themselves are actually very powerful. So it is entirely up to you on how you want to use these and where you want to use them. That then adds into the fact that other exotics do exist. Don't get me wrong, being taken out of combat for 3 seconds is huge. It's amazing. You get about 40% of your armor back. Nothing really hits you. If there's already a grenade that's been fired that's coming at you and Exodus activates, that grenade is still going to hit you and you're most likely still going to die. There are caveats to it. It's not a perfect system. But I would argue at least 9 times out of 10, Exodus can save your butt. So how should you build for Exodus? I would recommend, first and foremost, is give yourself a way on your build to generate either armor on kill or armor regen. I'll leave whatever way up to you. Potentially going down like Bloodsucker Intimidate could also be worthwhile, but you'll then be sort of trying to capitalize in on a high-end build, which isn't a bad thing, just you will get more out of gear sets. Strikers, Hunter's Fury, Heartbreaker, I believe even Breaking Point and Exoro are able to either keep up or just about beat high-end brand sets. So I'll leave it up to you on how you want to do it. One that I would recommend that people try is actively what I'm running in the background. The build is not up to date yet, so please excuse the Exodus Gloves rolls, but 4-piece Hunter's Fury, chest to chest with Glass Cannon, just so we're able to maximize that amount of damage. Go Obliterate if you want, but Glass Cannon honestly feels perfectly fine. It's what I'm running in the background, and I barely take cover at all. I'm running Emmeline's Guard, because the armor on kill between Emmeline's Guard and Hunter's Fury at base is 35%. On headshot, it's like 50%. Which therefore means if I then get the armor break from Exodus Gloves, one kill after armor break will basically put me at 90% armor. From here, I am actually running the Firewall specialization for a little bit of extra health on kill, but if you want more armor on kill, put Gunner on, perfectly fine. Although it is quite low on the damage end, especially compared to some of the top Hunter Fury builds, you do more than enough in terms of damage to clear solo content very easily. It's very run and gun. I very rarely even take cover, simply because if I do take damage, I'm either able to heal it very quickly through both Hunter's Fury and Emmeline's Guard, or if I take too much damage, I'm exited out of combat for 3 seconds, which regenerates 40% of my armor, roughly. And then I can get a kill, which will top me up to 90% of my armor. Then, in between the cooldown of Exodus Gloves, the Disorient from Hunter's Fury just helps slow things down enough so that I'm not really trying to fight the cooldown. And because I'm running Glass Cannon, I'm trying to mitigate some of that by utilizing the Defender Drone. This could be potentially very worthwhile with the current modifiers that are in play, as you would get skill tiers or, well, overcharge at max momentum or whatever it's called. But as you can see, I don't have modifiers on, and this build is working perfectly, and I do mean perfectly fine. The long and short of it really is that Exodus Gloves are very powerful. It's just the word gloves that kind of really holds them back. I would honestly argue that if these were a backpack or even a chest talent, although they still wouldn't be the absolute best in slot thing that we could run, they would still be a lot more worthwhile because we'll be able to get other options in and around. The fact that they're taking up a glove slot, which forces us to use a suboptimal secondary item, is kind of their only problem. For solo play, I can imagine there being quite a few very varied, worthwhile builds that come out around Exodus Gloves, since in solo play, they are very, very strong with what they're able to do. They are very much orientated towards run and gun, which I know a lot of people are going to like and enjoy. But their overall performance and what they're able to do, you could argue that just going Hunter's Fury with Intimidate Bloodsucker is stronger. Not only would it be more damage, doubling your armor is also going to be quite worthwhile, and then just adding in just the base heal from something like Hunter's Fury would then also allow you to put a damage talent on your weapon for even more damage. So not only are you killing things faster, you have more damage, you have double the armor, therefore massively increasing your overall survivability. So it's not like they're going to be best in slot anywhere, but they're not bad. They absolutely are the best thing to come about through this season in terms of individual gear or item, and they are immensely fun, at least in my opinion, to play around with. But they're not going to break the game, at least in terms of build, perhaps in terms of bugs, as I have already found a bug, but it's Division 2. When aren't there bugs? So yeah, due to the fact that it's a defensive talent, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, particularly with how Exodus Gloves actually works with its defensive talent, the fact that we're going to be potentially minimizing the overall effect of our build just to fit these in, and even if they were like a backpack or a chest, would still be losing an offensive talent. So there's no real way for these to actually be best in slot in any real area, but they work so damn well. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully this build has given you like an idea of a way or a weirder way to potentially play. And if you are a run and gun fan and you try this out, do let me know how it works out for you. In the meantime, though, have fun. Good luck. Don't die. It's bad for the health.